And we're streaming.
Woo, it's that simple.
Yeah. Yeah, talk about clicks of buttons. Like, once it's all set up.
And I just got a push notification on my personal phone that we're live.
Boom. And
live now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm going to tweet it out. Not support.
Brandon apparently was doing a giveaway, and he's like, yes, I got my giveaway out before you guys went live.
Sweet.
We do have a lot of overlap, so it's like we try to give each other some space on that when we can.
Right. Oh, hello, Jumpy Bob. So apparently YouTube doesn't like my video resolution anymore because I turned it way down because we were trying to output in high def, and that kind of ate up all of Rusty's bandwidth.
Right.
So now it's complaining at me that it shouldn't. So hopefully everybody sees all that. Jumpy Bob, Brandon, what's up, Brandon? And Roger's saying, hi, Dad.
Hi. Well, I assume that's for me.
Yeah. Yes, unless there's a terrible mistake among us two. Yours will not call a terrible mistake whatsoever.
Roger is a really cool individual. He is part Native American. He's a computer science career person. He loves soccer and NASCAR. So it's like, this guy kind of fits with where we're at. He's a little bit older than we are, but he's a good dude. All right.
Okay, I'm going to tweet out the link. Sorry, I'm sure when you have to do this is the part where you have to
this is the part where
entertain
I have to talk
the guests
some.
a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've seen what's going on the last week or so in NASCAR, so it's not going to be any shock to you what we're going to talk about today. Although, you know how, being your third time on, that we don't necessarily follow a media path to what we're doing here. We're not trying to do the news. We're trying to just have some fun. What
up, Brett?
We changed around a little bit, so we had a tearing it down section. We basically coerced that into being a report card where we have like 5 periods and a recess where we hit 4 different kind of like important topics and then like kind of a goofy topic.
Right.
And then we've got a shout out to some new folks. Rusty's been doing a funny thing with an app that I can't seem to use because of the way my phone is set up. Or not phone. What was it? My
bank or something.
My bank. That's right. I don't have a normal bank. I've got a credit union. So it wouldn't connect. And then what I added on the way down that I told you about was we have a bad advice section.
Yep.
And then we've got our standard, question asking session where we have 3 folks that we pick questions to answer for them. And you get.
I'm just making myself comfortable.
My man, you look comfy.
I just want to be relaxed and be able to give the best answers possible.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
Love
it. This will be a lot less about us asking, "Hey Jeff, tell us about you. What are you doing?" It'll be more about, "Hey, we're going to answer this topic, and you are too."
Okay, sounds good.
I should start with, "Hey Jeff, tell everybody who you are."
Just to totally refute what I just said. Yeah, it'll be a lot more like if you were like an in-show guest on Door Bumper Clear, like Freddie Kraft was last week, or I guess 2 weeks ago. That's
2
what
weeks
we were
ago.
able to
He was
get
with
him
us
here.
last week.
Yeah. So
awesome. You ready to roll, Jeff?
I'm ready.
Is there an end time? I know
pumped.
Sherwin kind of asked you that. Is there you got to be out by such and such? You know us. We'll do an hour, and then we'll say we'll do an hour, and then we'll be BSing and end up doing an hour and 15.
Well, I told my wife and mother-in-law and baby to come back in like an hour.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't know that they'll come back right then. So
all good.
We can always go a little bit longer.
My man. All right. Well, if you have to leave, give us like the steel third base sign or something. The old tug on the ear and the swipe of the hat.
You'll probably hear a lot of background noise if they come back. So.
Awesome. All right, we ready to get started then?
Yeah.
Sherwin, you good?
Yeah.
And Jeff?
I'm all good.
Let's roll, man. We are recording now. Welcome, y'all! That's right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 167. It's Tuesday, October 23rd, 2018. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace. I'm in the PTM podcast studio with Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
Hey, man, I think there's a lot of guests that we get really giddy about having on, which is like all of them, really. And then there's tiers.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, someone, you know, like you get a little bit extra
Yeah,
excited about
yeah, I hear you.
guys.
I hear
think
you.
we got one of those guys tonight.
Yeah, we do. Before we get to him, y'all know what the deal is. This podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. You go to patreon.com/PTM. Join the What You Drink Club for as little as $1 a month and get your free koozie. Best part is, every cent in 2018, we're donating to sponsoring drivers once again. So join the PTM posse today. Be a part of the sport you love. This week's show is brought to you by our official sponsors at the $5 and up per month level. This doesn't bode well. Here we go. Laura Henshaw, Aaron Bearden, Robert Kevin, Tony Saul, Colby McLaren, Mary Kepner, Ryan Keeper, Marion Levesque, Patrick Cleary, Jeff Brown, Brendan Crow, Kathleen McDonald, Stacey Wright, Brandon Carl, Billy Workman, Rika Porter, Jumpy Bob and Les Miller, Tommy Witt, Mark Wiley, Julie Bosley, John Pearson, Eddie Greer III, Yunker Motorsports, and I'm going to do it, Sherwin, all in one breath. It's Jason Rudd.
I think I'll get about an 8.5 from Kepner on that one.
Awesome.
You got a 10 last week, though.
Oh, well, appreciate that. The one breathers, dude, I said it before. You know when it's coming. Like about halfway through, you're like, oh, I've got 3/4 of a breath left.
Yeah.
And other times you're like, I should have breathed before I started doing this. This is going to be a disaster. Well, we talked about him already. We want to welcome back to the show. I believe, Sherwin, he's making his PTM PhD appearance.
This is number 3.
Number 3. Yeah. It's undergrad, master's, PhD with us, baby. Fresh off the daddy wagon, and somehow, for some reason, instead of getting an hour of sleep while he's got the old kitchen pass, he decided to join us and raise some hell. So welcome back to the show, Jeff Gluck. Jeff, what's up, dude?
Man, a lot is up right now. Mostly life stuff more than racing stuff lately. I feel like kind of bad coming on this week out of all weeks because I feel so disconnected from the racing world lately. You know what I mean? Like it's harder for me to keep up on Twitter all of a sudden and social media. I just feel like behind all the time because it's just like a world of baby feedings and naps and more baby feedings and naps and a lot of diaper changes, lots and lots of diaper changes, which I'm blown away by the color of baby diapers. I had no idea what to expect with this. I did not think it was going to look like that. So that's been, I mean, just in a world of eye openers, that is something that I've learned recently.
Yellow?
Very yellow, yes.
Very yellow, as it turns out. You know what's funny is my first question for Jeff was biggest surprise so far in the daddy lifestyle, and he might have opened with it, not buried the lead or whatever it is, stole the show. Oh, that's awesome.
So
I will say though that honestly, everybody tries to like scare you or something a little bit about the parenthood thing and the baby stuff. They're like, oh, you know, the first couple months is just survival. It's so hard and all this stuff. And maybe the like ordeal that we kind of had in the hospital the first week made it easier or something. Or maybe we just have like a really good baby, but it hasn't been that hard. So the biggest surprise has been like, I thought my life was going to be sort of like over as I knew it, and we weren't going to be able to do anything fun anymore, which is fine. But that's actually, we've been going out to restaurants with the baby and stuff like that. And it's okay. It's fine. Like she comes along. She's a trooper so far. So the biggest surprise is like, oh, it's not quite as hard as I thought right now, at least. So knock on wood.
Yeah, well, that's good news. We do want to give a quick shout out to Sarah, Liliana, and the mother-in-law for giving you an hour here to hang out with us and talk NASCAR and have some fun. And we'll try to get your mind off the baby deal here in a minute. Now, you know how we do this thing, so I'm very curious. Do you have a stiff drink in hand, or do you have something that's like caffeinated, or is it something like hydrating? What you drinking on tonight?
So my drink here is a huge thing of water.
Yep.
They gave us this in the hospital because we were not doing a good job hydrating, both Sarah and I. There was a lack of sleep, lack of eating. So I've actually been weirdly like still dehydrated. I haven't been able to like get my body right since then. It really I lost 6 pounds and all this crazy stuff while we were there. So I've been trying. You can see there's a lot of water left in this, so I'm not doing a very good job today. but I've been trying to drink this, so I figured like this would be an okay drink for tonight's show.
Right on, right on. Well, you lost 6 pounds, and Sarah lost 6 pounds just, by definition.
By proxy.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Sherwin, what do we have brewing tonight? Y'all might have saw as the theme song was playing, Sherwin handed me a tall boy of Sweetwater 420, and I was very happy about.
So I'm going to start by saying, Jeff, it always gets weird when somebody asks me what my profession is. Because I tell them I work for a company that makes disposable roll goods that go in the hygiene industry. There is a 100% chance that your baby has crapped on something that my company makes.
So that's awesome.
I like how diplomatic you said that, too, because in our inner circle, we say, he makes diapers and tampons.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the diplomatic response of whatever it is you came up with.
Yeah. Well, and your wife probably uses something that we make too, more than likely. But so what we're holding here is a green Sweetwater 420 tall boy can, and the reason why I selected this for this week's beer of the show is that Chase Elliott won the race on Sunday in a green car.
Oh, nice! I like the.
So that's the connection. We
I
usually like to make some kind of connection, and because of that.
For a little later on. Oh, hello.
Our adult beverage, our serious beverage, is a Jim Beam Rye because it has a green label.
Love it. Love it. Well done. Well done. We'll get on to that in a minute. Jeff, how much sleep have you gotten lately? Has that been a factor yet?
I've been doing decent. I got to be honest. I mean, my parents were just here for like 5 days. We had a 1-day gap, and now my mother-in-law just showed up. So that's actually helped a lot because they want to sit with the baby and cuddle with the baby and feed the baby, stuff like that. So, and Sarah and I are kind of trading off, getting up a little bit in the middle of the night if there's like a bottle I can feed her. So I've been getting more sleep than I probably should be. I think people are like, oh, you're probably just, it's probably really rough right now. But like I said, I don't know, maybe the other shoe's going to drop or something, but it's been fine. I'm probably getting 5-6 hours sleep a night, which is nothing to complain about,
Yeah. I have a confession to make here, and it's that I think there's people in our circles who think that I don't like babies because I shy away from them, and that's not the case at all. They're very cute. It's very neat, very cool sort of thing. I am scared to death of myself around babies. I'm a big guy, and I'm somewhat clumsy, and I'm always, they're like, and everybody wants to hand you the baby, and you're like, no, don't hand me the baby. So I saw that picture on Twitter of your parents holding the baby, and it's so small, and like my hands started sweating and stuff. Oh my gosh, I couldn't. I don't know. So it's like China shop for me with my hands in my pockets.
They need to be walking and talking before they can come around me.
Right. Well, at that point, they're super resilient. They bounce off of everything, no problem. But as a little baby, it's like fragile. Handle with care. I can't do this. I'm terrible. Like I stubbed my toe the other day. That would kill something. Like that's terrible. So.
All right. So if we bring the baby to the tweet up, don't hand her to either of you guys.
Oh, hands will be in my pockets.
Not till like 2021.
Yeah. I mean, 3 or 4 years later, and we'll throw them up in the air and.
I watched an entire football game with a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old in my lap. Like I'm good with those things.
Yeah. Donk. Hey, what was that? Nothing. Okay,
you're fine.
Yeah, you're fine. So with that, maybe something that you've been looking forward to, Jeff, is not talking about babies so much. Let's talk about racing. Let's tear it down, and that'll take us straight into our report card. With first period. Jeff, were you able to watch that race at Kansas?
Sure was. Yep. Glued to it.
So I think everybody has said the same thing. The floodgates are open with Chase Elliott. What do you think?
I am not as sold as a bunch of other people are on this. I really am kind of viewing it the same way as like the 3 straight Keselowski wins a little bit. Now, I will say, it's been pointed out to me by a zillion Chase fans that Chase was gaining on Harvick the other day, and so maybe Harvick would have had a challenge. But Keselowski won 3 straight races when he wasn't the fastest car. Chase now has won 2 races in 3 weeks when Harvick seemed to have the fastest car. It wasn't the dominant car. Chase did have a good car, though. I mean, I'm not disputing that, but I just I see a lot of people out there. I saw something on Twitter today where it's like, is Chase like the championship favorite now? And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Like, no. I mean, I'm not even sure I'm going to pencil him into the Final Four yet still. I mean, yeah, he could be right there, but I mean, no, I still feel like Harvick and Kyle Busch are the ones to beat. So Chase Elliott, yes, I mean, it's he seems to be a regular winner now, but I'm just not quite there yet on like totally being sold on him.
So for me, it was more, the sensational floodgates have opened, more like the bridesmaid so many times, and finally that he gets that first win, it opens up the opportunities for further wins, and wins beget wins and all that sort of stuff. As far as championship contention, I ain't going that far yet, although Sherwin's wearing a 9 hat, and we're both sitting about 25 miles from Dawsonville, Georgia. It's there is a lot of sniffing at hope right there, but certainly, these first few, Sherwin.
I don't know that I would disagree with the way either one of you approach this question.
However,
what I would say, though, is that it is not very often that the fastest car wins the race, and so somebody has to win the race. You have to be running in a position capable of capitalizing when your competitors make mistakes. And we've seen – how many times did we see Harvick win a race when he was at RCR where he was absolutely not the fastest car at the racetrack?
Well, sure. Look, a week ago.
We called him the closer for a while, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Before he came to SHR. So I guess what I would say is, here's how you go. This is the way the racers talk about racing. If you run top 10, you got a good chance at a top 5 when things go wrong. If you run top 5 all day or right around it, you got a chance to make a difference when somebody screws up out front. Chase has done that 2.5 times now. He was pretty quick at Watkins Glen.
Yeah.
But I would say, Gluck, I think you're 100% right that he did not have the fastest car at Dover or at Kansas, but still managed to win the race because somebody else screwed up. But I think you have to be fast and prepared. And leading into where we're going to next, where aero is not necessarily as important, I guess I'm excited, but I'm with Rusty. I'm like, let's not talk about championship. Let's talk about making it to Homestead.
Yeah, we'll start there. Sure. Second period, just as interesting, talking about playoffs. SHR, 4 cars to the round of 8. Jeff, are you surprised by this in any way, or have you kind of seen this coming? And of course, you've got sort of the insider view here when you're talking with these folks and seeing what's going on. What's your thoughts on half the field being one team?
I'm a little bit surprised because, if you think about the last time this happened, which is just 2 years ago, Joe Gibbs Racing put 4 cars in the final 8. I feel like Joe Gibbs Racing back then was a stronger team throughout the season. Now, SHR has been great all year, but it's mostly been Harvick, and then Boyer will have a good week, or Almirola will have a good week, Kurt Busch will have a good week. I feel like the 4 core were stronger when it was JGR. So I wasn't really thinking, all 4 SHR guys were going to make the final 8. However, when you lose guys like Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin, and now you've had bad rounds, and ultimately they go out with Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, it suddenly kind of opens the door to for that to happen. I still am not really sure I see even more than one of those guys making the final 4. So it just might be Kevin Harvick, and the other 3 fall by the wayside. But I just don't see – I think they've been strong with fast cars all year, but I don't see those other 3 teams aside from Harvick being like championship-worthy teams at this time.
If you're Tony Stewart, or you're in senior management at SHR or something, are you at this point satisfied with this season, or are you hunting for a trophy? Not saying that you'll give up a trophy and walk away right now, but in retrospect, hey, we got 4 cars the round of 8. We're doing something right.
I think that they definitely, the team as a whole, probably feels good about it, and as an organization, you feel good about it. But if you get to Homestead and nothing happens, it's going to feel hollow. You know, it's going to be like, damn, you know, we had a shot, but you know, if they don't win the title, it's not going to feel good.
Yeah, yeah. We bought 4 lottery tickets when the chances are, 1 out of 8.
Yeah.
Speaking of, you got any tickets, man?
I didn't. You know, I thought about it. I probably should have. You can't win if you don't play, but it just seems like such a long shot. And then I'm like, man, I could use that money on like diapers right now or something. So I don't know. I didn't do it. I know it's only like $2, but did you guys go out and get some?
Sure. Did you?
Nope.
Well, there's a caveat to this, but I've never played the lottery. I have bought a scratch-off ticket on my 18th birthday, and then I bought a scratch-off ticket, a $1 scratch-off, when me and Sherwin were at the store the other day. So I was 36 years old. So I figure every 18 years, maybe I'll just play a $1 scratch-off.
Yeah.
See, in Georgia, we have the Hope Scholarship, which is funded by the lottery, and I had Hope Scholarship all the way through college at Georgia Tech. And so I figure I'm probably up about $25,000 on the lottery right now. And so every cent that I pour into it, I'm going further back into the negative. So now I'm, $24,998, right? So I don't want to move that number down very far in that. And, man, just being, you know what? You go somewhere like Georgia Tech and you take all these math classes and statistics and whatnot, and it's just one of those, like, I can't fathom spending even a couple bucks on something that will not happen. I will not win,
Right.
And so, why am I playing that?
Yeah. There's 2 different economic propositions. It's cost benefit, but then it's what are your chances of actualizing on that expenditure? It's like, yeah, $1 to win $1.5 billion minus whatever the take-home fee is. It seems like a pretty good gamble because it's $1.
Mm-hmm.
But the odds of winning are so low that most likely nobody's going to win. And all that money just goes into some fund. Well, at least in this state, that fund is going to help somebody get an education.
Mm-hmm.
To Rusty's point, I probably cleaned 10 or 15 grand off the lottery.
Mm-hmm.
Because I kept hope for 3 semesters, but actually probably wasn't even that much. It was probably more like 6.5 grand. But still, to his point, like the investment's already been made by being a good student. So why hurt that?
Yeah. People say there's the entertainment value, like you buy the $2 ticket and then like you get to think about what you're going to do with all that money. I'll say this: I've gotten a lot better $2 at the shoe show down the street.
I tell you what.
Worth of entertainment. Take your $2 and go down there and have you a ball. Oh, getting off topic there, but all fun. Sherwin, I don't think you talked about SHR 4 cars in the round of 8 buying the lottery ticket there. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's a hell of an accomplishment. I think, to your point, if you're Greg Zipadelli, I think you're like, hell yeah, we got half the field.
Mm-hmm.
Like, which means that if things get weird at Phoenix, they can potentially impact their other teams by making weird strategies, getting in the way of people. We're not saying, scratch your arm or anything, because I think Clint and his crowd are freshly done with that deal at Richmond. But, there are still some things you can do as a team that can end up – I mean, look what they did at Talladega, all right? So one of their cars won, not the one we expected to win, but they did.
Right.
And they did it by driving away from the field at a place where that's impossible to do. It's because somebody figured out some magic.
Mm-hmm.
They set their cars up to be fast, and everybody was like, we set ours up to handle. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I was going to say something. Now I can't remember. Doesn't matter. We'll move on to third period. Jeff, you mentioned it before. Blaney Brad, Larson Hamlin out. My question isn't, necessarily reaction to all that, but because I'm sure you've done that a million times. But I'm sure you've interviewed people, talked to the crew or crew chiefs and stuff after that. What's the feeling in the garage after an elimination? Is it total deflation, total despair? Is there is it just kind of like this is the way it is in this day and age, or what's it feel like?
I think there's a mix. I think there's definitely some sort of rationalization, rationalization maybe, where it's like, you know what, this is a crapshoot anyway. It's not really indicative of a true championship anyway. We'll just go out and win more races. And then there's also like that mix of like devastation, like, well, that's it. Our season's over. We're done. This is stupid. This format, I don't think there's ever people who I still feel like a lot of people within the garage who are just like, this is not the best way to decide a champion, even though the playoffs are so entrenched at this point. But there's guys who are just like, even if they win, it's almost like they feel like it's a different situation, or it's not the true test of a champion. Of course, they'd be happy if they won, but it's just the way that the system is now. It's just like with the plate package and stuff. I mean, they know what quote unquote real racing is and stuff, and they know about what the best way to determine who the best car all year was. So if somebody else wins that, who is not the best car all year, it's going to be obvious to all the drivers and crews and the fans a lot in many cases too.
Sherwin, are there any surprises for you in this elimination round? Blaney, Brad, Larson, Hamlin, or is that pretty much what you've come to expect? For me, it's what I've come to expect kind of in this situation. Yeah, Brad might be a bit of a surprise, especially with his late resurgence in the regular season. Hamlin, I don't think he's been on like he has been before. Larson, Blaney, kind of, I would say, mid-pack of the championship contenders. So nothing really surprising to me, although, dramatic and fun to watch.
Well, Hamlin, Larson, and Blaney didn't win this year to this point, so it's hard to be surprised about them. I'm surprised Brad and Paul Wolf didn't figure out a way to get in there somehow, some way.
Because we know Fords are fast.
Because they're so conniving, and Penske's really picked up the pace over the course of the last probably 10 races. Larson's certainly doesn't surprise me. They have not been the same Larson that they were last year. Blaney, you know what? Blaney's still, it's still a little early, you could make the same case for him that you make for Chase, and that, this is still early in the going. These guys are in their early to mid 20s. It's, to expect them to make it all the way to Homestead is probably unrealistic.
Yeah, expecting
but
that.
Hamlin and Brad, to me, are surprises. Hamlin might be having his worst season of Cup ever. I haven't really looked at the numbers, but
I hadn't thought about that. Even though making the playoffs and getting through the first round still could be the worst one with no wins, and kind of being after that first race this round, he was a comma, in terms of what was going on, and never really made a sort of resurgence to the front of the field to make people think he might be able to make it in.
Yeah.
In these must-win situations, it's been kind of cool to see the must-win people coming up with not just wins, but contending for the win at least. And I don't feel like we've necessarily seen that.
Blaney was the closest to that, but he got a little bit on the edge and he hit the wall. And it could easily be him in and Clint out had he not stepped over that edge.
Mm-hmm. So, fourth period, the farewell race coming up between Jimmy and Chad. How big a news was this for you, Jeff, and what's the impact here? How impactful is that change?
I'm glad you asked me about this, because I actually haven't even really weighed in on it. I think this came out the day that my daughter was born, so I never really got a chance to dive into it. I saw the transcripts. They had a news conference sort of thing where they invited select media to Hendrick, and then they put the transcript out about it, and they talked all about it, and they really played it off like, hey, it's just a matter of time kind of thing and mutual decision. But my thought is this: Chad Knaus's style of crew chiefing is that he's a very, very demanding asshole, right?
Yep.
He is like, you have got to be on it. You are a perfectionist. You deliver. You must do this. And, he's not nice about it. He's an ass about it. Now, that works if you're winning races and championships. It's just like a football coach with the same thing. You know, you look at some guy, it's a football coach, and you're like, well, you know, God, that guy is a dick, but man, he knows how to win some games, and you know, so yeah, let's go play for that guy.
So if he's not winning, he's just being a dick.
Well, there's to Jeff's point is there's Mike Ditka and then there's Andy Reid, and those are very different football coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, think about when Bobby Knight was winning, even though everybody knew how his temper was and all that stuff, people wanted to go play for Indiana and all that stuff. When he wasn't winning anymore, let's fire this guy. You know, he goes somewhere else. Let's fire this guy. You know, you don't put up with it when somebody's like that and they're not getting the results in sports. So I think it comes to a point where, you know, they can say what they want, but I think that Jimmy probably was less tolerant of Chad's BS and not BS, but the way he is with people. I think that probably wore a lot thinner when the results aren't there.
Interesting. You think this is like a Jimmy decision, if you will? I'm putting
feel
words
like
in your
the
mouth.
driver has a lot more input in these situations, and that if Jimmy went to Hendrick and said, "No, Chad is my crew chief. I will not be split up from Chad. I'm ending my career with Chad." There's no way Hendrick would have been like, "Sorry, Chad wants to do this," or I think I should split you guys up. I think no way. I mean, again, they present it differently, so maybe I'm totally wrong, and I've only know this from reading the transcripts. But my perception is that if Jimmy wanted to stay with Chad, he could have. If Chad wanted to do something different, I don't know that that's the same pull. The driver is the one who, historically in NASCAR, has always had kind of that on their plate. But it's easier also in that situation to say, well, hey, Chad, maybe it's better for you. Maybe this just isn't working anymore. You know, mutual breakup.
Yeah. So shout out to Brandon Carl on the feed here says, I kind of want to see Chad throw a chair across pit road now.
That's pretty good.
Good one. Sherwin.
Bobby style.
You've been wanting to chime in, and I keep giving you the wait a second. Go for it.
I don't really remember what I was going to say, to be honest.
Oh, my bad.
It happens. I think.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I know what it is now. I got it back. I usually can reel it in if I just talk.
Oh, yeah. If we just sort of BS
seconds.
for a second, then you'll lose it in a minute.
I love, and maybe this speaks volumes to Jeff's point about, you know, Jimmy just saying, yeah, I'm 42, 43 years old. I've got 7 championships. I really want to win, you know, another 10 races before I give this up so I can pass Jeff Gordon, or at least win one more so I can be there with Darrell Waltrip and Bobby Allison. And potentially get that 8th that will set him apart from everybody. But what I love is when Chad is being an asshole and telling Jimmy he's got to go faster, Jimmy goes faster and spins the car out. And I'm not saying he tries to spin it out. I'm saying he proves to Chad they were already driving it on the edge of how fast it can go without being a problem. And I think it's mutual assholishness that I like from two competitors that are at each other's throats all the time, but are trying to accomplish the same goals.
Yeah. No,
I was like, watch what happens when I try to go faster.
Yeah, it feels like you've kind of heard that in on the radios and stuff. I can't go any faster. All right, fine. Next thing you know, well, Jimmy Johnson having issues.
Jimmy just looped it out of turn 4 at Charlotte, where he's won like 9 times.
Yeah. Fifth period here. All right, Jeff. We're putting our rumor mill hat on, going Gonzo reporting, whatever you call it. Daniel Suarez to SHR is pretty much a done deal at this point? Question mark. What are you hearing? Pockers was tweeting things that seem to indicate that. I don't know if there's like a, well, I can't say, but
I'm probably out of the loop at this point just because I haven't been to a race in 3 weeks. So, but my impression, at least when I got off the road, and I don't know that things have changed, is that Gene Haas, first of all, that's Gene Haas's car, right? Whenever you talk to Tony Stewart and you ask him about, hey, what's going on with that stuff, he says, that's Gene's car. That's Gene's car, right? He said that multiple times. So it's really about Haas. And I think at this point, Haas is kind of holding out to see what kind of, driver/money package he can get. So if if he really wanted Suarez, he could have signed Suarez a while ago. What he wants is a driver plus a driver bringing money, and to make it at least, or run respectable, obviously. But not just going to take a straight up buy a ride. But if Suarez is going to get that seat, he's going to have to put together enough of a package deal financially to get it. I think that's what's still the holdup. It probably is. I don't know if somebody else can come along and buy that seat out from underneath Suarez, or what Suarez's financial situation is with his sponsors. But, Suarez is there. So if it was really about like, hey, let's go sign Suarez. Okay. Haas, I think as long as he's going to have that car, he wants somebody to be paying for it. So he doesn't have to pay for it out of his own pocket.
As many drivers in all kinds of different series as we've talked to, and media and crew chief, spotters, etc., I found it interesting just now when you said money. If you roll back to YouTube, you'll see me and Sherwin both nod our heads and go, "Oh, yep, there's the point. Yep, you made a great point right there." So, that parallels a lot of what we hear. So,
well, what's interesting is how the different teams, how they arrange sponsorships so differently. Like there are teams where the driver really is the one that has the relationship with the sponsor, like you've seen with Kurt and Monster, which isn't a full sponsorship, but it is a partial, and it matters. I think the deal with JGR and Eris, that's a deal between Eris and JGR.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like Suarez is just going to be able to pick up and drag that sponsor over to SHR. So,
sure. I feel like, though, I mean, with the diversity part that he brings, with I don't know, I get excited. I love it. So I like Daniel Suarez a lot, and I feel like there should be somebody out there placing a bet on him with money.
Well, I might have stepped to conclusions or whatever, jumped to conclusions when I wrote these notes, but Bob Pockrass is somebody. He's in the big three, Jeff. You're one of them. You, Bob, and Nate. That's what we always say. If you want to know what's actually happening in NASCAR, these are the three guys you need to pay attention to because they're only going to report on what's real. And Bob was talking about how Ford was a much better deal for Suarez than Toyota, almost like it was already done. So if it's not the 41, I still expect to see Suarez in a Ford next year. I just don't know which one.
Yeah.
No, I think Bob's referencing the 41. It's just that it's probably just comes down to financial terms, honestly. And here's the thing, Haas originally wanted to put Kurt in that car so he could win a title. So that doesn't happen. Now he has a car, and you'd think from an outsider point of view, well, why don't they just shut down the car? Just like with the 31 at RCR when Newman was leaving. So why do they keep the car then if they're not having somebody in it, that's bringing financial support or whatever? But these manufacturers give the team so much money based on the amount of cars that they have. So it would actually be financially worse to run a car but not have full sponsorship for it than to shut down the team. They would lose more money shutting down the team than to run the team just without sponsorship, just because of the amount that Ford is giving them. So they've got to keep it up as part of their Ford contract. And I think now, Haas is probably just like, all right, well, Suarez, how much can you give me?
That makes a lot of sense, especially since we know the reason why Stewart Haas went to Ford from Chevrolet is because Ford said, we're going to give you number one money. How many cars can you field?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Kevin Harvick doesn't drive nothing but a Chevy.
Right. up until the last 2 years.
Yeah. I remember that big deal. Time for recess. Let's go somewhere crazy.
Right. Harvick was going to the 5 for sure.
Yeah, right. Oh man, recess. So I couldn't find something NASCAR related that was just funny and silly. So I did see this story pop up on me. There was a 2-headed copperhead snake found in Kentucky. If that ain't the devil, I don't know what is. Like, imagine getting bit twice by one snake with 2 heads. And, I don't know.
Well, I'm going to lean back on a Bill Engvall joke from 20 years ago. It said, a snake, that's the devil. It can move and ain't got any legs.
Yeah, right on.
Wait a minute now. Was the snake, like, did it have the head, two different heads at both ends, or it wasn't like some sort of a head at each end of the snake or something, was it?
That
No,
would be...
Where were the heads?
They're usually conjoined in some shape, way,
Yeah,
or form.
yeah, it
Snakes,
was-
for whatever have a propensity for this
Yeah,
defect
yeah,
to
I've
take
kinda seen
place.
that before.
Like you
Okay.
hear a two-headed snake, and it's not just an old wives' tale. There's pictures everywhere
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah.
and not really any other reptiles. Certainly not mammals per se.
Right. But yeah, this was pretty much from the neck up. Was it split into a Y into two different heads?
Two-headed poisonous snake.
Yeah, poisonous snake, mind you. Now, copperhead. So the headline was a bit sensational, like venomous snake or killer snake or something like
Killers.
that. I was like, it's a copperhead.
Copperhead's
I
never
mean,
killed anybody.
yeah, I mean, you're
It's
probably
one-
gonna have a bad time, and it's gonna suck for a while, and you'll be in the hospital for a day, but you'll be all right.
It's a different kind of venom than a rattlesnake. Copperhead is more like, it really is just like a really
Yeah,
super bad mosquito bite.
Yeah, it's a poison.
Whereas rattlesnake venom actually eats you.
it congeals your blood is what it does. Like they've shown, like they've
It
dropped.
starts to digest you.
I've seen this video of they took rattlesnake venom and poured it into a thing of pig's blood, like into a beaker of pig's blood, and then held the pig's blood upside down,
No, thank you.
and it didn't come out.
Nope.
Like that's some serious ish right there.
Yeah, that's the
So
devil.
yeah, that's the devil. There you go. There you go. Maybe some botanist or not botanist. That's the other thing. But maybe a animal person will let us know. But Jeff, you have any snake encounters recently?
No, but I tell you what. So speaking of pig's blood, there's this ice cream place in here in Portland, and each month they have 5 rotating flavors, and they try to do a theme of the month. So this month it's Halloween flavors, and they try to do. I mean, they are crazy weird flavors. One of the flavors this month is blood pudding ice cream with real pig's blood in the ice cream. And then another one of the flavors has chocolate-covered crickets and toffee mealworms in the ice cream. So they want you to have the sample, even if you're not going to have it. They're like, you got to try the pig's blood ice cream. You got to try it. So I tried it the other day, and I got to tell you, not terrible, but just the fact that you're eating the pig's blood, you're just like, I'm not going to enjoy this as ice cream as much as I would like the Twix ice cream or whatever. So I'm just going to go that route.
Twix.
But
I'll take Twix over blood.
yeah, Twix over blood is I think fair. It's a fair thing to say.
What is it you West Coast hippies are up to out there?
Seriously, no, they tried to go like they had a bone marrow was in one of the ice creams.
Now I've heard that stuff's good. I hadn't tried it yet, but they've got it on all the restaurants now.
It was like smoky. It made the ice cream sort of like a smoky vanilla flavor. But again, you're eating it and you're just like, nah, I'll just go with the candy. It's just no.
Yeah. I would try. You know what? Good for you for trying it. I would try all that stuff. I'm not going to turn my nose up at it from the outset, but I will have a pretty critical mind or pretty critical eye and tongue, and give it a try and go. Pretty much what you just said. All right. Well, I see where you're going with this, but no. I've had crickets before though.
Yeah.
They're. I mean, it's like just a little crunchy, salty.
Right.
Treat.
It is
It's
crunchy.
Whatever.
It tastes like if you didn't know that it was crickets and mealworms in the ice cream, you'd just be like, oh, this is like crunchy Rocky Road or something.
Right.
But the fact that you're crunching it and you go, that's a cricket. That's a cricket. It's not as appealing.
Roger on the YouTube here says his Polish grandmother would taken that congealed pig's blood and made a soup out of it.
I bet.
Oh, that's awesome.
I forgot he's like Polish and Iroquois.
Yeah, well,
Like some
somebody
very interesting combination.
talk about an odd couple somewhere down the line of the of the bloodline there, but good for them. Love is love.
Love is love.
Sherwin, we got some new follower shout outs. Why don't you go ahead and do that for us?
All right, let me get down there to it. All right, so Jenna at JMAdams1012 looked like basically from her profile she's a fan of every single driver. So
Awesome.
Thanks.
Me
her-
too, kind of. Like,
yeah, thanks for her to following.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like I think every driver under 30 pretty much was in her profile. Just numbers. And then this last name I don't even know what to do with because we had a word when we were kids that like was bad. Tony Monge. I'm gonna say it's Monge. Tony Monge at Monge_Tony, the 2015 Michigan Legends champion.
Oh, sweet.
And driver for hire in his profile.
Awesome.
Bill Longsworth is our third shout out of the day. That's at GA Georgia, Star Wars fan. I can't imagine what his science fantasy allegiances are. But we'll overlook his college allegiance because he's a Bubba Wallace fan.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, that's awesome. So cool deal. Now, Jeff, we've been asking our guests the last several weeks their thoughts on Bojangles, because we do have a Bojangles sort of segment here that we've introduced, and I don't know if the PTM posse even cares or likes it or not, but I'm having a boatload of fun with it. So how about Bojangles for you? Do you miss it while you're out on the West Coast? Do you immediately get it when you get here? Overrated? Where are you at with it?
Wait, they're not. Are they a sponsor? They're not a sponsor, right?
No, but they should be, and we'll get to it in a minute. Why?
No, that's kind of a tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
Okay, I think Bojangles is trash. I'm sorry. I think Bojangles is absolute. I think
you
it's
and
garbage.
Vinny Miller, man, come on,
dude. Okay, look, you all know how much I ripped on John West Townley and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Zaxby's
Zaxby's is good.
Zaxby's is delicious.
You go in there, you're like, oh damn, this is actually good. They got some good stuff on the menu. Bojangles, you go in there and you order, and it's just like you can almost taste like the aftertaste of the grease or something. You're like, it makes you feel rotten inside, and like when you like burp up like later, like several hours later, you're still kind of can taste the grease a little bit in your mouth. I'm like, oh god, like it just I don't feel good about eating it. I mean, I feel good at the time because I'm hungry or whatever, and it's desperation when I go there. But like, no, I don't really miss it. I try to avoid it. I am Chick-fil-A. I am Zaxby's. Yes, but no to Bojangles.
Well,
yeah, you don't like the Cajun filet and
me and Sherwin went to one. Where were we? We're on our way to.
Liter of cola. Do they make liter of cola?
We were on our way to, was it Darlington?
I think so.
And we stopped. It was the first time I'd stopped at an actual.
No, it was Charlotte. We went to the 600.
Yeah, because it had been North Carolina. Yeah, that makes sense. So, yeah, we pulled up, and there was a guy. I mean, good for him for having, for getting a job. He could have sat at home and probably collected money. I'm going too deep on this. Anyway, they still had the mic.
Microphone.
Yeah, the microphone thing. And he freaking used it, and we were taken aback. I don't know, Sherwin, what did we get into going to this Bojangles? But fast forward a few years, right? And they open up a Bojangles, and I've had Bojangles a few more times, and I'm digging it. We're good. And they open up a Bojangles. There's one. Me and Sherwin could walk to it right after this and not break a sweat. And that's saying a lot for two fat guys. Right? They open it right there. Now, across the street from me is a KFC. And I've been in this house 10 years. I've been to that KFC twice. Screw KFC. I've been to Bojangles twice this week. Like, I'm digging Bojangles. So I'm on the opposite end.
I do agree with that, though. I mean, KFC is like, you talk about dropping off the cliff as far as options. I wouldn't even consider going to KFC.
Right.
And part of it is because they basically, you have people who spam you on Twitter or your email. I view KFC as spamming my NASCAR viewing when I'm at home. They get on a roll when they do these stupid commercials when they like, whoever their ad buyer is, like, hey, do you want to advertise during the NASCAR race with your KFC commercial? The crispy kernel or whatever you're advertising this month? Yeah, how many commercials do you want? Oh, could we run one like every commercial break? Yeah, that's no problem. What would you like to run 2 every commercial break? Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. Let's run the same commercial twice every commercial break during the NASCAR race and see if people feel positive about KFC. Yeah. I mean, it goes all the way back to the mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, that whole commercial back then. So KFC is dead to me. Bojangles just doesn't agree with me, but they're not dead to me.
Okay, all right.
KFC is like
I'm
the
in.
Long John Silver's of the chicken industry.
We'll see. Now I like me some Long John Silvers. You take that back.
I will not.
No, I did like Reba and like Jim Gaffigan and like them all,
Well, the
and
people
Norm
that we
Macdonald
like. I mean,
doing
the
all
commercials are funny.
The commercials are good,
I'm
but
just not
that's-
eating their food.
Well, I didn't go to the KFC across the street, but I damn sure went to the boat. Like what it did, it was like, oh, I want some chicken. Well, hell, I'll go to the Bojangles, get me some chicken. Anyway, Jeff, I like the Bojangles so much that about 6 weeks ago, I bought 7 shares of their stock because I had some money sitting around in this Robinhood account thing that I got, like $100 sitting in it that I had never used before, and so I finally decided to use it. Bought 7 shares. Now, y'all know how it shot up immediately after I bought it. If you've been paying attention to the stock market in the last week, it's dive bombed, came up a little bit, and then dive bombed again. Like all your stuff, you go look at your retirement accounts if you ain't looked at it, y'all are all down like 6% right now.
Ooh.
Bojangles is up 14% in that time frame, ladies and gentlemen. So, once again, Bojangles, it's bow time, baby.
Sell high and buy some more.
Yeah, you know why it's up? Because as the economy, people think, oh, the stock market's going to go down, the economy is going to get worse, nobody's going to have any money, and out of desperation, they're going to go to Bojangles, which will make the stock price go up. That's my theory.
I have only gone to Bojangles in desperation like 6 times. So, with that, Sherwin, it's time for the bad advice segment that we have resurrected from a little while ago. Sherwin, you have some bad advice for us this week. Let's remind everybody we had starting fires when you're a kid. That was one.
Learning how to play with fire.
Yeah, learn how to play with fire when you're a kid. What was some of our other ones?
We did crank up construction equipment when there's keys.
Oh
left in it.
yeah. That's a bad call. What else did we do? There was another one that I did. I can't remember.
You had 2 of them.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I've only
Anyway,
had 1, I think.
today we got some more bad advice for y'all. Sherwin, take it away.
Yeah. So this was spawned out of a conversation I was having with Brandon from Lap Traffic and Cancian over text, because I had gone to the Punchline here in Atlanta, which is a great comedy club. Saw a really funny comedian from Canada named Ian Bagg. Recommend to everybody they go see him. He's hilarious. And I started talking about it. I was like, we like to go to comedy every now and again. I was like, but have you ever been to the recording of somebody's special? Like when you're at the event where the taping is happening.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you owe it to yourself to get time travel drunk so that you enjoy this concert but don't remember anything about it, so that when it comes out you get to see it again brand new.
Yeah, it's brand new.
Like,
all new content.
You got to get you wasted, and then you get to see the same show twice and have the same amount of fun.
I think was it Bill Burr? You people are all the same.
Burr, the black and white one.
Yeah, the black and white one. He did it at the Tabernacle.
The helicopter. Put your seatbelt back on.
we saw that live.
Sore abs the next day.
Yeah, sore abs the next day, and then went. Do you remember any of that?
No.
Was that Jeff?
Oh, sorry, I was laughing. That was just a loud laugh, awkward laugh.
Portland's a good city for comedy, from what I understand too. So.
Yeah, the West Coast comics. Yeah. We don't get a whole lot of
Rogan
access
will be
to
there,
that. It's only when
Kreischer.
People are. Yeah. We're going to see Burt Kreischer for your birthday.
We are, if I can get tickets. I hope they add a third show. We're in a little bit of trouble right now.
Oh, okay. Well,
he's selling like crazy.
He's up and comer. Well, not up and comer. I mean, hell, he's been around for a while, and he's doing good for himself.
He finally had a hit special.
Yeah,
he crushed it.
Yeah. So he's doing it. Well, The Machine, that one was
great, but that was the one that got him to the place where he could have crush it special.
So. With that, time for some Ask PETM. Let's go through a few questions here. William Soki at William SOQUET says, "Oh man, we got to get back into the heady stuff here with these questions. I should have done this before we went off the rails. Should truck fields go back up to 36 due to all the recent DNQs in that series to make the ladder 36, 38, 40 in Truck Xfinity Cup? Trucks have had 3+ did not qualify in the last 3 of 6 races. Do you think we ought to add some folks to the truck field, Jeff?
No, I don't think so. Because, I mean, I just feel like when you're looking at field size right now, if somebody doesn't make it, I mean, I guess I just don't have that much sympathy, because you're talking about operations who, for the most part, aren't going to have any sort of impact on the race at all. You know, are you sending full-time people home? I don't really – full-time people who are really going to be competitive, or are they just trying to I don't know what their motivations are, but no, I think shrink the fields, distribute the purse money more evenly among the remaining teams.
I like that.
I think they could even go less, honestly, because the days of having all those trucks in the field, or Xfinity cars, or even Cup cars in a lot of cases, being in the field and strong and competitive and adding to the show, those are long gone. So, only half the truck field is, if that is competitive. Shrink it and help those teams that are in it every week and trying to race hard, give them more money.
I don't think the litmus test for me did not qualify. I think for me, or I shouldn't say I know for me, it's more who's starting parked. How many of those do we have? And as long as we're keeping that in check, when we have 42 cars in the Cup field and 6 of them are starting parked, that's a problem. So what does that look like in the other series? So I don't look at the did not qualify. I think that's good that we have some competitive stuff going on and competing to get in. I would love to ask that question actually to Tommy Joe and see what he says too, or any competitor's perspective.
I bet he would share Jeff's perspective in that, in order to make his team more economical, where he's still competing in trucks, he would like to see a field where he might miss it, but if he made it, he would make more money. I think one of the misconceptions is, so first of all, I'll take that word back and I'll say NASCAR went out of their way to fix the start and park thing, right? So they said, all right, we're freshly done with this. The back of the field, you are all getting this same piddly little check, and you're all getting 1 point from 36 on.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to start and park, that's fine, but there's no way you can make money doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So they sort of fixed that, and that's why you end up seeing 38-car fields at Michigan and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's really expensive to prepare a car to go race. At Martinsville, maybe they should toy around with potentially places like Martinsville or Bristol, opening it up to a wider audience. But I think Jeff's still right, especially in the truck series. There's only 12 trucks that even have a chance at a top 5, unless something really weird goes on. There's only about 6 that even can win a race.
Sure.
So,
and those are the hobbyists.
Yeah, and those I mean, some of those trucks,
the rich hobbyists, I'm saying.
Yeah, some of those trucks, the reason why they have a chance to win is because a Cup guy's racing 5 or 6 times a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I mean, I think we're good. I think and to Jeff's point, if we went to 29. Could we somehow start spreading the love around a little more and make that from 6 trucks that can win to 8 or 10 because they have the funding they need to actually build a good truck?
So we got a question from the Beast 1624 at Beast 1624. All right, this one's kind of heady. Sherwin, I'll let you take this one on. He was listening to the 14 on RaceView for Dega. Not boring, but fascinating following their strategy. He's got a question. If NASCAR switched to overhead cam / modular engines, where it's easier to make horsepower and RPM, but less torque, how do you think that's going to affect plate races in this hypothetical? I know you're in tune with that stuff, so give us your thoughts.
Well, personal opinion, when you're running a motor basically half throttle all day, if you're out front, you may be running some full throttle, but for the most part, these guys that are in the top 10 are running about half throttle to stay with the pack and do all the things. I don't think torque matters as much. So what I would say is a D8 DOHC, dual overhead cam modular motor might be a good fit, might be a good place for them to try it out. Since you already have to build a Cup car, a plate car differently anyway, why not use those races as an opportunity to say, we're going to go down to the 5-liter, we're going to go to dual overhead cam, and we're going to see what that does. Now, we know that's going to be expensive. Now, at a place like Martinsville, where torque is an absolute monster because you have to get off the corner, different ball game altogether.
And so, yeah, I don't know if that's for every race or if he's just saying for Dega. My thought is more torque means more options for drivers. More options for drivers. I should just stop it right there, which means how hard you want to mash that gas, because there's going to be a lot of torque in this. You might spin the tires. You might do all kinds of crap. I like the idea of higher torque. So less torque and more horsepower seems a little.
That's why I think
less torque and more horsepower seems a little less. I don't know, competitive to me.
That's why I think if we're going to down-gauge motor displacement, which we know this sport needs, especially in to stay dialed in with passenger cars, if we really want to remain a stock car series, we have to be able to know that the guys are racing something that's similar to what goes in a Mustang and a Camaro, and what potentially might go into a Challenger. Like, we have to know that those things are somewhat similar in order to be able to process it as a fan. You know, we haven't had that for a really, really long time, except for in truck motors.
Yeah.
A lot of truck motors are still center cams.
Yeah.
So I think trying it out at super speedways and then maybe easing into places like Michigan and California, and sort of figuring out, well, okay, what is that? So I can make 900 horsepower, but I only make 750 foot-pounds of torque. Like, what is that? Like, what does that really mean for how to drive a race car? Because to your point, torque is just another funny way of describing what horsepower actually is.
I think of torque as like acceleration.
Torque is the ability to put power on the ground.
Yeah.
You can say, we measured horsepower this way, and it's this number. But the torque number is the one that says, this is how much of that power that I can get from zero to going fast
or I'm
on
thinking
the ground.
As much power as I can put into my rear wheels.
Yeah.
Now, whether they decide to grip it or not might be up to Goodyear and God.
And that's what I talked about. I had a whole thing on Twitter. I was like, let me tell you why on right side tires make you tight, because they were talking about somebody put right sides only on, and they're like, all of a sudden you couldn't drive it. I think it was Elliott Sadler, because I'm always time to listen to Spotter Brett because he's hilarious. And it's like, why did it get tight on Elliott? Well, the reason is because when you have more right rear grip than you have left front grip, the car does not want to turn when you get back on the gas in the place you think you're supposed to get back on the gas in order to make the car go the fastest. So tight is the car didn't turn. Yeah, but there's the reason why is because that right rear tire grabbed and left front's just sliding.
This is the stuff that me and Sherwin talk about when we're not recording and we're sitting on the couch and stuff. We get into this heady nerd stuff. How about you, Jeff?
I have when it comes to technical stuff with racing and how the cars work, I mean, you might as well be speaking a different language. But I will say this, like, NASCAR is very the whole engine thing and what they want to do, like, they're so hesitant to bring in any additional cost for something that would like bring multiple kinds of engines, or because what you're saying makes sense, but they feel like they're boxed into using one engine everywhere, one type of, and this is why they're going after these manufacturers too, because when they've gone all over the world and they've said, hey, Honda or whoever, or Hyundai or whoever it is that they've talked to, like, hey, do you want to come in and build like the current engine that we have? And they're like, oh, that's old technology, and we don't really want to spend millions of dollars developing that has no relevance to our current product, on the street, and it's at such a high degree of horsepower that you guys are using. We're just not interested. So then they're like, okay, well, we have to reduce it, but they don't. This is why they can't have two different kinds of motors, and they can't do all these switches, because the current teams are like, and manufacturers like, well, no, you're going to drive us out of business if you make us do this for this track and this for this track. So they're trying to find some sort of a happy balance, but I think they're terrified that like anything less than like a V8 is going to like scare fans away or something. You know what I mean?
That would scare me a little bit.
I totally agree
honest,
with you.
though.
I want a V8, but I'm saying that I guess they've bumped it up to a 5.2 liter now, which is not necessarily in the right direction, but they figured out how to make more power more efficiently with the Mustang motor. But the 5 liter versus the 5.9 liter displacement feels like the right direction to go, because a 5 liter is a very standard platform. It's been a pony car platform for years. It's been a dual overhead cam system, at least in the Mustang, since 1996. And here we are in 2018. So it's not like there isn't some technology out there, especially in the drag world, that have used these motors, have used superchargers, and they've figured out what these things can do with what kind of cams in them. I think there's something that can be learned there where we could do this without totally blowing people's budget.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to Mick Rose at GoDucks42 _ Mick. Y'all know what the deal is with him. I've got a very short answer for this question. He says, after almost 2 years under the new playoff format, do you think NASCAR needs to relook or look again at the playoff points being carried over every round? And if so, what would you change? I've been vocal about this, Mick, on the show and in private and everything. NASCAR needs a couple years of consistency in my book, and that's why I'm not a big fan of all these new changes coming along with the Aero and everything else.
The 900-foot spoiler.
Yeah, the 900-foot spoiler looking like a Roadrunner deal out there. I want a couple years of the same thing just to if you change the finish line so many times, you just never know where that finish line is from year to year. Let's have a consistent place for a while. Do I think this is perfect? No. Do I think we should keep it? Yes, because I just want to see it in this format for a few years and see how people strategize, see how it goes. So I'm a fan of keeping it how it is for a little while. Jeff, what do you think?
I don't know. You know, this comes back to like the philosophical argument in NASCAR these days, which, you know, and not just for one specific issue, but in general, it's like, okay, things aren't going in the right direction. Let's change something. But then it comes down to, you have to make the right changes and the right calls to get people's interest, to hook people. For instance, like you have the Roval, great change, right? You know, everybody seemed to be excited about it. It generated enthusiasm. But then we've seen so many other changes that they've either announced or have happened over the years that push people away and turn into be like the wrong changes. And it's like, well, they felt like they had to do something, or they had to try to stay ahead of it or stay relevant or get people back. And it's like, but no, you have to make the changes that are smart. So I don't know. I don't really know where I fall. I keep going back and forth on everything. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? God, they should just undo everything they've done. I don't care what it is, and go back to like traditional point system and all this stuff, and just and do everything retro like they did with Darlington. Hey, look, we're putting Darlington back on Labor Day weekend. Isn't that a great decision? But it's like, well, no, not really. That's where it should have been the entire time. You tried moving it to California. Why'd you do that? That was dumb. Now you're putting it back, and then you want to be like patted on the back for it. There's so many decisions that they could go back to, and people would be like, yay, finally. And they'd say, we listen to the fans. It's like, but you didn't. That's the whole thing. So, but at the same time, I kind of understand. It's like they kind of find themselves in desperate territory in everything right now, and they're trying to do little things, big things, whatever, to make it try to grab people. Be like, wait, come back, give us another chance. So I don't know. I just keep going back and forth. I feel like, not to sound defeatist, but no one thing, even how it could be the biggest thing in the world, shake up the entire schedule, anything, is going to be make that much of an impact right now. It has to be a lot of little things to get back to where they want to go. I know I didn't really answer the question, but that's my philosophy on any changes in general.
Me and Sherwin have been fans going on, like fans who are really paying attention for coming on 14 or 15 years now. And we said it in a podcast recently. I'm curious, Jeff, what your thoughts are. From a product perspective, we said, and I'm speaking for Sherwin a little bit here, but I think we both said in the last couple of weeks that this has been the best season I've seen in a long time in terms of enjoyment of race, enjoyment of the product that's on the track, feels like they've really honed in and really put something great together. And the young guns now are better than the young guns of 5 years, 6 years ago. Everything is really firing on all cylinders, if you will. And if we can ride this momentum for a couple years, that's why I'm against making a ton of big changes. Is because of that. Sherwin, I mean, you agree on that?
Yeah, almost wholeheartedly, I would say. Yeah. I've been saying for years, you've been saying this for years, just leave it alone for a little while.
Yeah. Jeff, I mean, what do you think about this year versus the rest of the years?
Well, I mean, this has been the best season in recent years for sure. I don't have a great memory like Nate Ryan does, where Nate can be like, well, this happened and this happened. I'm like, oh, I forgot about that.
Oh, by the way, that's what Sherwin does with me. He's like, well, you remember in 06, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't remember 06. Jesus, dude, I was 22. I don't know crap. Or 24, whatever I was.
That's my problem. So I have to rely on recent memory. And in recent memory, I would say overall, this season started off really slow, but this has gotten to be really good, really intriguing. Even when you have the races that aren't so hot, Kansas was okay, but it was still decent. Kansas, I guess what I'm trying to say was one of the races that was less interesting compared to the last few months where they had this great streak going, and it still wasn't terrible. So, it's been a good season, and then you find out that yet they're going to completely go this different direction next year, change all this stuff, and really change the core philosophy of what Cup racing is. With this rules package, and you're just sort of why couldn't they have announced this on a season where everybody kind of just was bored and hated it? Right. Of all years to announce it, it's like, dude, let it breathe. Mm-hmm. Let it breathe a little bit. Things are okay, but they're in this zone where it's just like, no, this isn't working. We've got to do something. The ratings are down, attendance is down. We've got to do something. And again, it goes back to what's the right change. I don't know. I've this new. I know this has been talked about to death, but this new rules package and stuff. For a while I was kind of like the Matt Weaver school on it. I'm not even going to go to any of these races next year that use this new rules package because screw this. It's not even real racing. Now I'm kind of you know what? NASCAR is just about entertainment. All the rules are about entertainment, and if it's going to be more entertaining, maybe that's good. A lot of people won't even realize. Casual fans won't even realize that they changed anything. They'll just say, ooh, the racing's close. Neat. So, I don't know. I mean, it's frustrating, and you wish they could just kind of blow the whole thing up and start over in some ways, from the schedule to the tracks to the cars. Just get back to something completely, how it was in the early 2000s, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like everybody's just kind of along for the ride at this point to see where it ends up.
Yeah, well, so I think from my perspective, one of my biggest concerns is number one, NASCAR doesn't understand its potential audience. I believe it has its potential audience, and they need to pay attention to what their current audience is and grow from there, as opposed to trying to attract this 2006 audience that they will never get back. They'll never get that person back. And so one of the things I'm most afraid of is they're not paying attention to what their core customers are interested in. We see a lot of these changes, and it's people like us, we pay a lot of attention, right? You work in the sport. We do this 1 hour to 90-minute show every week, as it were. And the things I get the most concerned about is I saw somebody the other day tweet that there wasn't good attendance at the Roval, and I'm like, bruh, they sold 5 times more tickets than they've sold in 10 years in the grandstands for that race.
Yeah, I mean, what are you even talking about there?
You don't even have a clue. You just made that up for the sake of some sort of narrative that you're trying to convey, and you've got 60 followers.
Well, yeah, when you got
maybe you don't matter, but to just say that and not know, what?
Yeah, what?
Well, that's a really great point, and I think that you hit on something there that is definitely not recognized right now within NASCAR, and that is that, like, if you took the audience that NASCAR has right now and just retained them and didn't lose anybody else and sort of stopped the slide right here, you'd have an excellent niche sport. I mean, really a really good base to build off of, compared to other sports and compared to, even though the ratings have been really bad, and they're getting worse and the attendance has been getting worse and all this stuff, that core, given how fractured all sports are today, that's not a bad thing. And if you just said, look, we're going to make these people happy, like you mentioned, and keep giving them what they want right now because they've obviously stuck around long enough, then we would be successful, and then we could build off that. But instead, it's like, yeah, we got these people, but I wonder how we could get other people, like people who aren't paying attention and have it, or how could we get people back who left? I just don't, why are you doing that? It's the entire philosophy. Hey, everybody, do you want playoffs? We heard you want playoffs. And the core fans are like, no, we didn't really ask for that. They're like, okay, well, here you go. Playoffs go on for a while. Oh, hey, would you like eliminations? We heard you want eliminations. No, we didn't ask for eliminations. What do you mean we want eliminations? We were kind of, okay, here you go. Just stuff like that. And I think this rules package is so much the same way, where it's like, hey, do you want the cars to be like closer together and the leader can't get away? And, I know that they're going wide open around the track, but now the leader will only be ahead by 3 seconds instead of 10 seconds. Do you want that? And all the fans are like, well, we kind of like racing. We kind of like real racing. Oh, okay, well, how about a restrictor plate package? Here you go. And it's just like, dude, stop,
Yeah.
It's just frustrating.
You're chasing the white rabbit right there.
Yeah.
For me, I said it before, this current class of young guns, I think, speaks better to the equivalent crowd, the younger 20s crowd right now than I've seen before. I feel like the young guns of days of old were sort of like stuffed down our throats in terms of, hey, these are the Coca-Cola young guns, only because they're the youngest people and Gillette. They get this sponsor, the Gillette, yeah, good point, Gillette young gun stuff. Whereas the guys now, I mean, you can go watch Bubba and Blaney play Fortnite with their friends on Twitch. We were talking about Twitch in the pre-show here. You can go watch them play video games with their buddies, and I think that's such a cool outreach sort of thing that guys right now have that didn't happen before. And so if we can ride the wave of current really good racing that I think we have going on right now, and the outreach for a younger crowd that these guys have, I feel like we're in a 5-year upward momentum that we can only get in our own way of by making all kinds of changes and stuff that introduces inconsistency in the racing that can just confuses new fans. If we had a consistent thing that these new fans come on and watch and they know what's going on, we're not like opening envelopes with The Rock or whoever it was in that weird who was it that was in that thing in Charlotte during the playoff race, not playoff, the All-Star race thing where they're like opening random
John Cena or
The
or Rock or somebody like that.
So as long as we're not all scratching,
but we don't want to
be
be WWE, by the way.
P.S.
Whatever.
So I don't know. That's where I'm at on it. Sherwin.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess what I would say is I think this speaks directly to Jeff's point was NASCAR, zigging when everybody else says zag is, everybody that understands what makes a race car be in the driver's hands and like the opportunity they have to pass cars, the reason what will make Kyle Larson be as competitive as Kevin Harvick is one of them really likes to run the high line and one really likes the low line, and they both do it better than anybody else, is we got to maximize the difference between slow speed and high speed. Mm-hmm. And what did NASCAR do? They said, we're going to normalize speeds.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They're like, what the hell, dude?
Pack racing for everybody. But no, we're not saying it's pack racing, but that's what we're doing. Anyway, Sherwin, we got to let our very special guest move on at some point.
Got to let him go back to being a dad.
I know. So let's go ahead and gas it up. Go into the old... There it is. We're going to the old paperclip. Over at Martinsville, Jeff, who are you looking at for this race? What are you looking forward to Martinsville coming up?
It's a good question. I'm very confused about who's going to be good there because it seems like all of a sudden, like there's a zillion guys that can win there. And you have, it used to be like only one or two guys could really master Martinsville and get around, and they knew the right thing, the right way to do it and the right momentum. And now, like, so many of them seem capable of winning. So I'm very, puzzled as to what will happen there and who's going to come out strong. I'm tempted to say, a Denny Hamlin could come and, win his first race of the season. And then in doing that, open up an extra spot in the playoffs on points instead of taking one of the winner spots for Homestead, which would enhance the Big Three's chances of all making it themselves, whether they win a race or not. So that's a total guess, but that's just my first reaction.
Awesome. Sherwin, what do you think about the old paperclip? Here's what I think, by the way. I totally agree with Jeff in terms of looking at, so I'm doing my research on who am I going to pick? Who am I going to pick on this thing? Because obviously, we do our pick thing. And I changed my mind about 12 times. And so that just goes to show, am I going to pick Jimmy? Am I going to pick Clint? Am I going to pick others that I'm not going to name because I'll give it away and stuff? But what is it? There's so many different things that can happen here. I really like. It's just like Dega. It's just like Roval in terms of I don't know.
Right.
So I like that's something I do like about this playoff format. There's the one race that you go, I don't know.
Well, it's funny, and I start everything with which I need to work on, but the guys on Door Bumper Clear have said multiple different times that we don't have a wild card in this portion of
bullspit.
But I'm like, dude, we've got Martinsville. Right. You can move people.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a crash 'em up like Talladega could be. But there's still it's a wild card in that it's short track racing. And every now and again, somebody's going to hit a setup, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think to Jeff's point is where we used to show up and Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson and Denny Hamlin were the only guys that had a chance to win this race. I think we've widened that out to about 7 or 8 guys, and that's if nothing goes wrong.
Right. So let's do it. Let's go ahead and make our picks. Let's get Junior on here. Tell us. There he is. So with that, we're going to do our picks. Jeff, we'll let you go first here. Who have you got? The Stone Cold lock of the century.
Well, I just said Denny. It's so hard. Oh, this is just tough. I'll just go with Denny. I'll just stick with it. I mean, I don't feel great about it, but it's just like picking somebody at Talladega, as you mentioned too. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to pick somebody there and feel confident about it. So I'll just go with somebody who knows how to get around there and has a lot of motivation to win, or they might not win this season for the first time. So I'll go with Denny.
Sherwin.
Chase. Back to back.
All right. Dude, that was my – so I had my kind of safe –
He was going to win last year until Denny wrecked him.
That's a good point. I had my safe pick, and then I had my this is what I'm going to say on-air pick. And the on-air pick was Chase. Yeah. I was super excited to bring that up if nobody else did. So I'm glad you did because I'm going with Clint Boyer.
All right.
And making another statement right here. And really –
Boyer sweep.
The Boyer sweep. Yeah. And
he's good there. He's real good there.
He is good.
And if Boyer wins this, I think we're looking at more than one SHR getting into Homestead too.
Yeah.
So that gets a little crazy.
Well, you remember the spring race we went to when Boyer dove down there at the end of the race
and
wiped out half the field?
Yeah.
I think we flipped him off even.
Yeah. It was that's the maddest I've ever been at Clint Boyer.
And it's only been once. We need to, you know what? We need to ask Brett Griffin about that next time.
Yeah, we do.
Spotter Brett. Next
he might
time
say
he's
the
on.
F word. Who knows?
Who knows? That'll happen every once in a while. With that, Jeff, it's been an hour and 20 minutes. We want to thank you and thank Sarah and the mother-in-law and Liliana and everyone for making this happen. Thank you so much. Why don't you close us out? Tell the people where they can find you, what you're up to, and what's coming up.
Well, first of all, thank you for wanting to have me on again. You guys are so awesome and so supportive. Every podcast I put out, you guys are like listening now and commenting on it and tweeting about it. And I feel like there's some podcasts where I'm like, does anybody hear this one? Or, is anybody going to listen? And you'll be like, man, you'll tweet back and be like, man, this was great. We don't always agree, obviously. We both have all three of us have strong opinions on various things. But I don't expect for us to agree. It's just that I feel like we all have a passion coming from the same place, about caring about the sport and about the community. So I really appreciate you guys and all the love you show for me. So, it was an honor to be asked back here again, because it's just it's really important for me to be part of this community that you guys have built too, and I'm proud to be a patron of yours as well and everything. So thank you for doing that, and hopefully I'll see you guys again. I guess I'm not going to see you unless you're coming to Homestead magically or something, but I guess I might see you at Atlanta next year.
Yes, I mean, for sure that.
Almost guaranteed.
For sure that.
We might even have, like, that pass thing around our neck with stickers on it and stuff.
Yeah, it might happen. You know what, Sherman?
It's a good chance we will.
I'm gonna play in the background graduation music.
That's awesome.
Because Jeff Gluck has graduated to the PhD portion of the PTM podcast. So that's awesome, man. It's been an absolute pleasure talking. This is so much fun, and thank you. And hey, congrats on everything, man. Yeah, I mean, you're kicking ass and taking names. Did we lose him? He's still there? Might have lost him. I'll stop the graduation music. Did you catch us there, Jeff?
Oh, you dropped out for a minute.
You know what it was?
When the music went on. Sorry.
I was playing graduation music for your PhD right there. I mean, I showed him a little bit of appreciation. No.
Oh, thanks.
But it canceled out your audio.
I gave you the silent treatment after that.
Right, yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's just
what the
gonna
hell,
be
man?
Funny when we go back and listen to this.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, man. We appreciate you being on and everything. With that, y'all, Jeff, tell everybody where they'll see you next and what's going on.
So I'm going to get back on the road at Texas. I will have missed 4 races. I was going to go back to Phoenix, but I just bought my plane tickets for Texas. So I'm going to have major FOMO not being at Martinsville. That's going to suck because I love going there. But I just couldn't really make it work to get out there with the new baby and everything right now. But anyway, yeah, I'll be back at Texas. But I'm doing my regular work as normal this week and had 12 questions with Blaney today and things like that. So if anybody wants to go check that out, that is all up there on the website and the podcast.
Looking
Awesome.
forward to that.
I listened to it. I thought it was great.
Sherwin.
Nice.
Let's close this thing out. You know what the deal is. Y'all know where to find us. It's PTM Podcast at PTM Podcast on the Twitter, PTMpodcast.com. You can find us on all the places. If you're listening to this, you already found one of the places. So it doesn't matter.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, with all that, I'm Tailgate Mayor, Rusty Wallace at Tailgate Mayor.
Yeah, and you can find the podcast on Instagram as well. And like Rusty said, we have the website. I'm Sherwin. You can find me at Pregame Engineer on Twitter, at Andrew L. Sherwin on Instagram. Yeah, let's. This was an awesome show.
This is so much fun. So much fun. Love doing this. Love doing this. Let's have Sydney Lett take us out. Thank y'all for joining. We'll talk to y'all next week.
Yeah. iTunes, subscribe, rate, review.
Awesome. That is a wrap.
I didn't even think that we could have plugged Sydney. She's got a gig in Statesville or Mooresville on the
She's
26th.
got. I mean, like, I don't know if we're allowed to say it. We're still Jeff. We're still live on the YouTube, but like Sydney's got some stuff coming up.
Yeah, we're trying to help her get.
She's
on.
good, huh?
Yeah, she's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of a fun little sporty song that they wrote for NASCAR, but
I couldn't hear it. Well, I mean, I've heard it on your show before. When for some reason, when like you're whenever you play music like the intro or the outro or something, I couldn't hear anything. Like it just went blank or something. I could see you guys like rocking out and stuff, but I couldn't. I was like,
So it's a matter of I've got that computer science degree, but that also gives you a little bit of that, like, you know what, this is good enough. What was that? The GED, good enough degree,
good enough diploma.
Good enough diploma. No, there comes a point where you're like, you know what, I don't care. I don't know how to fix it, and I'm not going to spend the next 8 hours trying to fix it. So that's just kind of how it is. So I don't know what to say other than, yeah, good point.
Yeah, it's one of those in the computer science industry. If it's like, if you can answer, does it work? If the answer to that's yes, you generally don't mess with it.
Yeah, yeah, it's all good. So, Jeff, that was a blast, man. Appreciate you being on.
Yeah, sorry it went so fast, and I feel like we ain't.
There is no sorry, man. I mean, that was like an hour and a half episode this time. I texted Sherwin earlier, and I go, dude, I've got way more show notes, and like we don't really do detailed show notes, but I was like, dude, I got way more show notes than normal, and it's just line items, topics that we want to talk about. And he goes, yeah, I sent you a lot. And I'm like, yeah, I also wrote a lot myself too. So we've got so much to hang out and talk about. And no, Sherwin, you had your Mount Rushmore experience that want to make sure.
We never even got that on the show.
No, I mean, say it now. I mean, it's worth Jeff hearing.
Yeah, so I would say this past year, Jeff, that June at Michigan was absolutely, if it's not number one, it's top 5 for sure. Experience getting to watch the Cup race, sitting next to you, watching you get your first like TV experience stuff going on like that. That was like, I mean, you can't buy that experience. You know,
literally,
I've told Brandon this a ton of times. I said, man, I can't explain to you how cool this is that you gave me this opportunity, and getting to sit next to you and compare notes during the race about what's going on. That's a Mount Rushmore experience for me.
That's nice of you. That was a really weird day though, like because it was like there I was in like the Fox booth, and I'm like, oh well, here I am talking with like Jeff Gordon, DW, and Larry Mack or Mike Joy, and then I'm coming back and talking to you guys, and I'm like, oh man, this crazy thing just happened, and you're like, yeah, we just saw, or whatever. I was like, oh yeah, there's like glass right there, but
there's glass right there. There's two-way glass right there.
Yeah,
we can't hear, but we can see.
So surreal, you know.
Awesome.
It was like, oh my god, I was like, yeah, that's still for me is kind of, that was a crazy day, yeah.
Well, let's say au revoir to the YouTube folks. Thank y'all for joining. It has been awesome. That was so much fun. And we'll
to them, sorry about my resting bitch face, because like I kept catching myself, and I'd be like, you know, I'm on delay too, and I'd be like just kind of staring. But it was like I'm staring at the screen listening, but then my face is like, you know, so it looked like I was bored or something, but I wasn't. I was listening. I just, you know. Anyway,
it happens.
Sorry,
awesome.
YouTubers.
Awesome. Well, thank you, YouTubers. Y'all are the best. Appreciate you being on. We'll catch y'all next week and whatever. So with that, we'll stop streaming
Tuesday next week, y'all.